In the heart of Nazi Germany, amidst the grand, imposing architecture of Berlin, sat the nerve center of the German war machine, the High Command. And deep within its walls, in a room buzzing with connections and crossed wires, worked a woman named Elsbeth. To everyone who saw her, she was just a small part of the colossal apparatus. Meek, quiet, a switchboard operator whose main role was to connect one important voice to another. She was, by all accounts, completely invisible. And in the shadowy world of wartime Berlin, invisibility was a superpower. Elsbeth's job was simple: plug a cord here, flip a switch there. Connecting you now, Herr General. A click, a buzz, and the line was live. But one day, a faulty connection, a moment of silence where there should have been a disconnect, opened a door for her. She realized she could linger on the line, a ghost in the machine, listening. At first, it was an accident. She'd hear the tail end of conversations, fragments of official business, but soon curiosity turned into a deliberate act. She wasn't a spy. She had no training, no secret codes, no network of clandestine contacts. She was just a woman who heard things, and the things she heard weren't grand battle plans or top-secret weapon designs. It was the stuff that happened between the orders, the gossip, the human element of the war machine. She'd hear a general complaining to his quartermaster about a delayed shipment of winter coats for the Eastern Front. Another officer would grumble to a colleague about the new panzer tanks breaking down constantly. A senior commander's wife would gossip about another officer's affair, hinting at a rivalry that could be exploited. This information seemed trivial, almost like something you'd overhear at a coffee shop. What could you do with the knowledge that General Möller despised Colonel Schmidt? He was an old baker named Klaus, a man she'd known since childhood, whose wink was a little too knowing and whose questions about her week were a little too specific. He was part of a small, local resistance cell. So, while buying a loaf of rye bread, Elsbeth would murmur, "The men in the 3rd Armoured are saying their new tanks are more dangerous to them than the enemy. The engines keep failing." Or, while picking out potatoes, "I hear General Richter's command is a mess. No one trusts his judgment since that last blunder, and they're fighting amongst themselves." She passed on whispers about supply shortages, officer rivalries, troop morale, and logistical nightmares. It was all gossip, harmless-sounding tidbits of information. Klaus would nod, thank her for the news, and pass it up the chain. At first, her resistance contacts were unsure what to do with this flood of seemingly petty details. But soon, the information, trickling out of Germany, made its way to Allied intelligence in London. There, a group of specialists in psychological warfare began to piece it together. They were like artists painting a picture, and Elsbeth was providing them with all the subtle shades and colors. Her information on low morale in a specific unit on the Eastern Front, Allied radio broadcasts beamed into Germany would suddenly feature stories tailored to that very unit, mentioning the poor food and the freezing conditions designed to make the soldiers feel seen, understood, and forgotten by their own leaders. It was a subtle poison dripped directly into their ears. Elsbeth's gossip about the rivalry between two generals. Allied propagandists would create leaflets, dropped by the thousands over German lines that played up this division. They'd praise one general while subtly mocking the other, sowing discord and paranoia within the German high command. The generals, already suspicious of each other, would begin to second-guess orders, accuse each other of incompetence, and weaken their own command structure from the inside. Her information about a critical fuel shortage for a Luftwaffe squadron? Allied bombers would receive new, urgent targets, not the airfields themselves, but the specific, seemingly minor railway junctions and storage depots that Elsbeth's whispers had identified. Suddenly, a squadron of fighter planes was grounded, not by combat, but by a simple lack of fuel, all because a switchboard operator overheard a frustrated complaint. Elsbeth never knew the full impact of her work. She couldn't see the Allied psychological warfare machine turning her small whispers into powerful strategic weapons. She only knew the fear. Every day she went to work, her heart hammered against her ribs. Every time she plugged in a cord, she wondered if this was the day she'd be discovered. The click of a connecting line sounded like a gunshot. The silence on the wire was a suffocating void where danger lurked. She saw the Gestapo on the streets, the black cars, the faces of her neighbors disappearing overnight. She lived in a constant state of controlled terror. Her anonymity was her only shield. She remained the meek, overlooked operator, her face a mask of quiet diligence, while her mind raced, cataloguing, memorizing, and sorting the day's harvest of secrets. She was a librarian of whispers, a curator of discontent. The information she provided was intangible. You couldn't hold it, you couldn't use it to blow up a bridge directly, but it was just as destructive. It attacked the very soul of the Nazi war effort. It eroded trust, fueled paranoia, and crushed morale. The Allies weren't just fighting a war of bullets and bombs, they were fighting a war of ideas, of perception, of psychology. And Elsbeth, the invisible woman in the heart of Berlin, was one of their most effective and unknown soldiers. As the war ground to its brutal conclusion and Allied forces closed in on Berlin, the High Command descended into chaos. The lines Elsbeth monitored became frantic with panicked calls, accusations, and desperate last-ditch orders. The rivalries she had reported on exploded into open blame. The logistical failures she noted became catastrophic breakdowns. The picture she had been painting with her whispers was now a full-blown inferno of collapse, and she had a front-row seat. In the final days, as the sound of artillery fire echoed through the city, the switchboard fell silent. Her work was done. Elsbeth simply walked away from the wreckage, melting back into the civilian population, her secrets locked away. She was never recognized, never decorated, never even acknowledged. Her name isn't in any official history books. Her story is a powerful reminder that war isn't just fought on the battlefield, it's fought in the hearts and minds of people. And sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't a tank or a plane, but a piece of information, a well-placed rumor, a simple whisper of gossip passed from an invisible woman who dared to listen. She proved that even the smallest voice, speaking in the quietest of tones, can echo with the force of history. Thank you so much for watching this story unfold with us. If you found Elsbeth's tale as fascinating as we did, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to our channel for more hidden stories from history. We'd love to have you as part of our community. See you in the next video.